Hi Archers! Today we'll be exploring Phoren and just how much stronger he is than our hero Urusol, who we have explored in our last video of the Hero Showdown series. I apologize if I'm saying these names completely wrong, I just went by what I could find on the internet and my accent also makes it a little harder. If you haven't watched the Urusol guide, then basically this will be a 6-part series, each hero having their own in-depth dedicated video. In the last video of the series, we will be concluding which hero is the strongest, so you know which hero you want to invest in. In this guide for Phoren, we'll be going through the best abilities and items, Phoren's pros and cons, and the strongest and best weapons for Phoren. My name is Teeds and I make many Archero videos from guides, tier lists, gameplays, updates, and more. Please do subscribe and click the bell for more Archero content. Let me preface this by saying this is all based on my experience, research, and opinion. In the end, you may or may not agree with me. It's up to you to decide which hero is the best for your personal playstyle and taste. All heroes are great in their own individual way with abilities that can be useful for different situations. With that, let's begin with Phoren. Throughout this guide, we will be comparing him to our poison hero Urusol. In our previous video, Urusol was compared to our base hero Archero. We'll be analysing Phoren's damage and see how well he does with stacked fire items. First, everything you need to know about Phoren. Phoren is a hero who specialises in fire. He costs 50,000 coins. This makes him a hero that you can grab for free once you've saved up 50,000 coins, or you can also speed up the process by purchasing coins from the store. Coins are pretty easy to obtain in the game, I would just actually save up for it. He has 500 health and 130 base attack, which is 50 less health and 10 more attack than our poison hero Urusol. In return, we gain his special ability. His special ability is Inferno. His attacks will cause an enhanced flame effect. He cannot pick up the ability Blaze, so he cannot stack the Blaze arrow with his special ability. This effect ticks 10 times over 2 seconds. The tick damage is based off 15% of your base attack. This tick damage will continue refreshing and reapplying so long as you're attacking the target. If you were to increase your attack with attack boosts or rings, it will not affect the damage of his Inferno ability. It will stay the same and will always be based off the original base damage you started with. So Inferno is based off 15% of your base attack. With no items and a base attack of 330, from one attack, Phoren will deal 50 damage per tick over 2 seconds. This amounts to 500 damage every 2 seconds or 250 damage every second. If I were to equip my level 40 Epic Death Scythe, my base attack is now 1074. From one attack, Phoren will deal 162 per tick over 2 seconds. This amounts to 1620 damage every 2 seconds or 810 every 1 second. In comparison, the Blaze ability still does 15% of your base attack. However, it will only tick 7 times over 2 seconds instead of 10 times. Moving on to the best abilities and gear for Phoren. Just like Urusol, there are a bunch of fire abilities that Phoren can use to stack his fire. In the fire family, excluding the Blaze ability because we can't pick that up, the common abilities we'll be coming across is Fire Circle, Fire Strike, and Fire Sword. These are not all the fire abilities, just the common ones. Just like Urusol with his poison ability with Poison Family, while this can be fun to do, it is not viable. These abilities will stack on the enemy as their own independent tick, so you can really have a lot of ticks going off on one enemy. But just like Inferno, they do not stay on the enemy, you must keep reapplying this attack. In that sense, I would say Urusol stacking the Poison family is actually better than stacking the Fire family with Phoren, as Poison sticks on the enemy forever, but it does do damage slowly. You would have to risk so much for Phoren to keep the Fire tick going of all the abilities. If you do not keep the Fire tick going, this makes Fire Circle and Fire Sword useless when it's not in use, taking up 2 ability slots that pretty much will not be doing anything during times where you're not close to the enemy, and preferably that would be all the time. Fire Strike is a different story. I would grab this ability depending on what it's up against in the other 2 ability slots. However, regardless if you're using Phoren or not, it is a good ability that should be considered. In conclusion, Fire Sword and Fire Circle are just too situational. There are many better abilities in the Fire family that in the end, it doesn't make it worth picking these up over, let's say, multi-shot or front arrow, etc. Instead, I would recommend picking up Pierce, Ricochet, Diagonal Arrows, and Bouncy Wall to easily apply these tick damages to multiple targets at the same time. This can result in dealing a huge amount of damage per second, and it's great for mob clearing. If you're running the tornado weapon, do not pick up ricochet or bouncy wall. You should have an easier time applying tick damage to multiple enemies due to the inbuilt pierce effect and speed. For high single target damage, multi-shot, front arrow, attack boost, and attack speed boost. This is great for getting rid of one enemy as quickly as possible rather than just multiple enemies over time. Multi-shot and front arrow should always be picked up at least once regardless of the other abilities. In regards to the epic golden chestplate, which is an armor piece that deals flame damage to nearby enemies in its epic form, even with Phoren, in my opinion, this still does not make golden chestplate viable in comparison against Vest of Dexterity. As I said in my last video, stack dodge chance is better. Also, this armor requires you to be close to the monsters to have an effect. I would say it's not the best. Next, the pros and cons. The pros of Phoren. His ability results in high DPS. His damage is almost instant and it's fast. It refreshes. You can keep this on one monster for a long time if you're continuously hitting it. I find this ability to be really strong against bosses. The cons of Phoren. The fire needs to be refreshed to stay on the monster. It will stop after 10 ticks. This makes it hard for monsters that get away or hide behind areas you can't reach them in comparison to Urisul, who has the permanent poison. Last but not least, the best weapon for Phoren. First, let's talk about the strongest weapon based on numbers. I've calculated every weapon in its level 40 epic form. For comparison, we'll be using our poison hero Urisul from last video. A few things to keep note of. We will not be factoring in base crit. Remember that Phoren and Urisul do have a 10 damage difference regarding their base damage. However, I'm not sure if this was a mistake or some weird rounding up technique, if it's wrong or if I'm just wrong and I'm not figuring it out, but when I equip any of the weapons, there is an 11 damage difference between Urisul and Phoren instead of the 10 damage difference. First weapon, the Tornado. Here is a graph between Urisul with a Tornado and Phoren with a Tornado. We will be factoring in the return damage. As you can see, Urisul's base damage is lower than Phoren's by 10. On one enemy per minute, Urisul deals 146,531 damage. Phoren deals 148,047 damage. From the base damage alone, the 10 damage difference between Urisul and Phoren does make a small difference, with Phoren dealing 1,516 more damage than Urisul. But wait, let's factor in the bonus damage. So if Urisul's special ability Venom calculated, Urisul deals 172,043 damage per minute. Phoren with his special ability Inferno calculated, Phoren deals 196,377 damage per minute. In 1 minute, Phoren deals 24,334 more damage than Urisul, thus making Phoren stronger than Urisul. With the Saw Blade per minute, Urisul deals 158,174 damage, Phoren deals 182,365 damage. With the Death Scythe per minute, Urisul deals 157,750 damage, Phoren deals 181,846 damage. Lastly, the Brave Bow per minute. Urisul deals 135,851 damage per minute, and Phoren deals 159,811 damage. Okay, that is all the numbers out of the way. From the information here, we can determine that Phoren is stronger than Urisul by 14 to 18% depending on what weapon Phoren uses. But this leaves another question that some of you may have, and a very valid one. Urisul is able to poison multiple enemies in a room and keep that poison on the target for the time it's alive. Phoren, however, will have to keep attacking the enemy to reapply the ticking flame damage. Let's say there are 5 enemies in the room and Urisul manages to poison every single one of them, and Phoren, because his tick does not stay on the target, is only applying it to one target. In this sense, Urisul would be stronger than Phoren. However, this is a hypothetical situation, and it will only be stronger if Phoren was not using the Tornado, or didn't have any abilities like Ricochet, Pierce, or Diagonal Arrows, any ability that spreads the damage. If we focus on this rare case scenario, Urisul would be stronger, but overall, in most situations, Phoren is stronger than Urisul. From these stats alone, we can determine which weapon in its level 40 epic form is the strongest with Phoren. Phoren's DPS is highest for the Tornado weapon. However, it's good to note that the Tornado in general has a higher DPS than the other weapons. The Tornado taking first place, Saw Blade in second place, Death Scythe in third place, and Brave Bow in last place. but there are a few things to note when choosing what weapon you want to use. Here is a quick visual guide on what each epic weapon does. Considering these factors, which weapon is best for Phoren? This is based on my opinion here, as there are so many different outcomes and situations with what weapons you want to use, but I have to say, all of the weapons. They all have their perks, and honestly, Phoren is not restricted in any way like Urusel. All of this meaning, Phoren is also better than Urusel with how flexible he is with weapons. Of course, the tornado weapon would be the highest DPS by far, and you are able to hit multiple enemies, taking the fastest weapon to clear out monsters. It's good to note their epic perks, and the non-existent knockback on the tornado can prove to be an issue in later chapters or in chapters you're just not strong in. In conclusion, Phoren is so versatile that you can pretty much use any weapon of your preference to get the best out of him. It's up to you to decide which weapon you want to use while considering the damage numbers and epic perks. Pair these up with the right abilities and you could be dealing some serious damage. And that is all for today's video. I thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe and click the bell to be notified for future hero guides. We'll be exploring Tyrannus in the next video, comparing him against Phoren. Any likes and comments would be super rad, and I hope to see you again. Bye!